Long ago, before the empire, before the Caesars, before Christianity, and even before Christ, there was a revolutionary idea. An idea so powerful that it would shape the destiny of the Western world for more than 5 centuries. The idea that power did not belong to one man, did not belong to one king, did not belong to one despot. Power belonged to the people and to the Senate. Rome was a republic, a sacred pact between citizens and rulers, where the law was sovereign and no one, absolutely no one, was above it. But like every human pact, it was fragile. It depended on virtue, discipline, and above all, heroes willing to sacrifice their personal interests for the common good. This is the story of the Roman Republic and the heroes who built it, defended it, and, ironically, destroyed it. This is Rome's journey from the plow to the Rubicon. Imagine a man, not a general in golden armor, not a senator in a purple toga. Imagine a peasant. His hands are calloused, not from the weight of a sword, but from the handle of a plow. His skin is burned by the sun of the field, not by the smoke of battles. This man is called Lucius Quintius Cincinnatus, and he is, perhaps, the greatest hero Rome has ever produced. Not for having conquered empires, but for having refused absolute power when it was offered to him. The year was 458 BC. Rome was in danger.
The Equi, a warrior people from the neighboring mountains, had surrounded a Roman army in the passes of Mount Algidus. The soldiers were trapped, without food, without water, without hope. The Senate, in panic, took the extreme measure. It invoked dictatorship. In the Roman Republic, dictatorship was not what we understand today. It was not a regime of oppression and fear. It was an emergency tool. For a maximum period of 6 months, the Senate would hand over absolute power to one man, a dictator, so that he could resolve a crisis and then return power. The Senate's choice fell on Cincinnatus. But where to find him? The Senate's messengers traveled through fields and villages until they found Cincinnatus on his small property beyond the Tiber. And what did they see? A simple, sweaty man guiding his plow, tilling the land that gave him his daily bread. Cincinnatus was not an ambitious politician. He did not desire positions, honors, or glory. He loved the land. He loved simplicity. He loved the freedom of living far from the intrigues of the forum. But when the messengers knelt before him and announced that Rome needed his services, what did he do? He wiped the earth from his hands. He took his sword, and without hesitation, he left. Duty called, and Cincinnatus never shirked his duty. In just 15 days, Cincinnatus did the impossible. He summoned an army of citizens, marched against the Equi, and won an overwhelming victory. The Roman army was saved.
The Republic was saved. And then Cincinnatus did something that no ruler before him had done. He did not want power. He did not prolong his term. He did not ask for rewards. He simply resigned. He returned his sword, disbanded his army, and went back to his field. He went back to his plow. The story of Cincinnatus became the founding myth of Roman virtue. It personified gravitas, the seriousness of the public man, pietas, the sacred duty to the fatherland, and frugalitas, the simplicity of one who is not corrupted by power. Cincinnatus showed the world that the greatest power lies not in commanding, but in knowing how to renounce. That true greatness lies not in accumulating titles, but in serving, and when the mission is accomplished, returning to ordinary life. This was the Roman ideal, and this ideal would nourish future generations. But the world was about to change. The challenges would become greater, and the heroes more complex. Cincinnatus left a legacy, But the virtue of one man was not enough to protect Rome from its greatest nightmare. While Rome grew in Italy, a power emerged in North Africa, Carthage, a Phoenician city, rich, powerful, ruthless. Carthage was the opposite of Rome. While Rome was austere, Carthage was luxurious. While Rome was agrarian, Carthage was commercial. While Rome was disciplined, Carthage was cunning. And these two powers, two colossi, vied for dominance of the Mediterranean. The clash was inevitable. For more than a century, Rome and Carthage fought. There were 3 bloody wars known as the Punic Wars, from the Latin term poni, which meant Phoenician. And it was in the forge of these wars that Rome forged its greatest generals. It was in the fight against Carthage that Rome learned to be ruthless, to be strategic, to be merciless. And it was in this fight that the Scipios emerged, a family of heroes who would mark history forever. In the Second Punic War, the world met Hannibal, the Carthaginian general who crossed the Alps with war elephants, who invaded Italy, who humiliated Rome at Cannae, where 70,000 Romans were massacred in a single day. Hannibal was a military genius, an unparalleled strategist. Rome trembled. The Republic shook. But Rome had a weapon that Carthage did not possess: the ability to adapt, to learn, to never give up. And it was this resilience that gave rise to a new hero. Publius Cornelius Scipio was a promising young man. He had witnessed the defeat at Cannae. He had seen his countrymen die, but he did not let himself be defeated. While Hannibal ravaged Italy, Scipio had a daring idea. Instead of confronting Hannibal on his own territory, he would take the war to Africa. He would attack Carthage directly.
It was a risky, crazy, but brilliant strategy. The Senate hesitated, but Scipio managed to convince them. He landed in Africa, defeated Carthage's allies, and forced Hannibal to abandon Italy to defend his homeland. In the year 202 BC, the 2 greatest generals of their eras met. Zama. The battlefield was an open plain, perfect for Hannibal's cavalry and war elephants. Hannibal had everything in his favor: more soldiers, more experience, elephants, Numidian cavalry. Scipio had Roman discipline, and something more: intelligence. The battle began with the attack of the elephants. Hannibal expected the enormous animals to terrify the Roman legions, breaking their lines. But Scipio had foreseen this. He ordered his soldiers to open gaps in their formations, creating corridors. The elephants, confused, passed through these corridors without causing damage. Some turned against the Carthaginian lines themselves, sowing chaos. The Roman infantry, in their testudo formation, the famous shield tortoise, advanced like a wall of bronze and steel. The Roman cavalry, which had defeated the Numidian cavalry, attacked Hannibal's rear. The siege closed in. It was a crushing defeat. Hannibal, the invincible, was defeated. Carthage was forced to sue for peace, to surrender its fleet, to pay immense tributes. Rome was the mistress of the Mediterranean, and Scipio returned to Rome bearing the most honorable title a general could have: Africanus. Scipio Africanus. Scipio's triumph in Rome was a spectacle never before seen. The streets were packed. Roman citizens who had endured years of war, fear, and famine now shouted with joy. Scipio was not just a conqueror, he was a liberator. He had broken the chains of fear that Hannibal had placed upon Rome. The broken chains became a symbol. They represented the liberation of Rome, the defeat of the greatest enemy the Republic had ever faced. Scipio was the hero of heroes. He had done what seemed impossible. But the victory over Carthage also brought something dark. Wealth, luxury, power, all of this began to corrode Republican values.
The simplicity of Cincinnatus was replaced by the ostentation of the victorious generals. Discipline was replaced by ambition, and Rome began to change. Its greatest enemy, Carthage, was wounded but not dead, and the hatred for Carthage, fueled by victory, became an obsession. Marcus Porcius Cato was a man of the old type. He was austere, rigid, moralistic. He saw the luxury of Carthage as a plague, a corruption that could contaminate Roman purity. For Cato, as long as Carthage existed, Rome would not be safe. Carthage was an open wound, a latent threat, and he made a promise: he would never rest until Carthage was destroyed.
Cato the Elder, as he became known, had a peculiar habit. Every speech he made in the Senate on any subject ended with the same phrase. It didn't matter if the topic was taxes, roads, agriculture, or war. Cato always ended with a sentence that echoed through the corridors of power. The phrase became legendary: Ceterum altem censeo Carthaginem esse delendem. In fact, I am of the opinion that Carthage should be destroyed. Cato repeated this tirelessly for years, planting the seed of hatred and revenge in the heart of Rome. Cato was successful. Rome, obsessed with destroying its old enemy, found an excuse to declare the Third Punic War. Carthage, although humiliated, was still a rich and prosperous city. Rome wanted its end, and it found the general who would carry out this sentence: Scipio Aemilianus. Scipio Aemilianus was the adopted grandson of Scipio Africanus. He carried the weight of a legendary name, and in 146 BC, he led the final siege of Carthage. The city resisted for 3 years, defending every street, every house, every temple. The Carthaginians knew there would be no mercy. They fought with the courage of desperation, but Rome was relentless. When the walls fell, the city was sacked, burned, and razed. What Scipio Aemilianus saw in Carthage was a nightmare. The streets ablaze, the bodies piled up, the smell of death.
700,000 people perished during the siege and in the days that followed. Great Carthage, the queen of the Mediterranean, was reduced to ashes. The Romans scattered salt on the land so that nothing would grow there again. It was complete and utter destruction. But as he watched the fire, Scipio Aemilianus wept. He felt no glory. He felt only deep sorrow. Legend says that he turned to his friend and whispered verses from Homer, the same verses that describe the fall of Troy. He repeated the words that foretell the fate of all great cities, that they too would one day fall. And then he murmured something unsettling about Rome. Was Rome, in all its grandeur, also doomed to destruction? Had the Republic, by destroying its last great rival, sealed its own fate? Scipio Aemilianus's vision was terribly prophetic. The victory over Carthage had given Rome an empire the Republic was not prepared to govern. The conquests brought wealth, power, and corruption. The balance of the Republic began to crumble. "100 years had passed. Rome was the mistress of the known world, but the soul of the Republic was sick. The Gracchi brothers, Tiberius and Gaius, attempted agrarian reforms to help the poor and were assassinated in the Senate. Marius and Sulla clashed in a brutal civil war, where the army ceased to be an institution of the Republic and became the personal army of generals. The law, once sovereign, was now merely an obstacle for the ambitious. The Republic was in agony, and the man who would emerge to deliver the final blow or to try to cure the disease had a name: Gaius Julius Caesar.
Caesar was no ordinary man. He was a brilliant politician, a legendary general, a genius strategist. He had conquered Gaul, defeated the barbarians, crossed the Rhine and the English Channel. He was loved by the people and feared by the Senate. In the eyes of the conservative senators, Caesar was a threat to the Republic. They wanted to prevent him from returning to Rome. They wanted to prosecute him. They wanted to destroy him politically. Caesar had a choice: submit to the Senate and accept humiliation and ruin, or defy Rome and seize power by force. In the year 49 BC, Caesar was encamped with his legions in Cisalpine Gaul, northern Italy. To enter Italy with his army, he would need to cross a small river, the Rubicon. This river was the legal border that no general could cross with troops. Crossing it meant starting a civil war, defying the Senate, defying the Republic, defying everything Rome stood for. Caesar stopped on the banks of the Rubicon. He hesitated, or so they say. He looked at the water, to the other side, to the future. He was about to destroy the Republic. He was about to become a dictator, like Cincinnatus, but without the intention of returning power. He was about to become a king. The die was cast. With a sigh, Caesar uttered the words that would echo through eternity. Alea iacta est. The die is cast. And he crossed the river. What motivated Caesar? Ambition? Glory? Fear? Or the certainty that the Republic, with its corrupt and ineffective Senate, was no longer capable of governing the immense empire it had created? The truth is that Caesar did not have the virtue of Cincinnatus. He did not renounce power. He embraced it. He embraced it tightly and did not let go until he was assassinated on the Ides of March in 44 BC by a group of senators who thought they were saving the Republic. But they were wrong. The Republic was already dead. The crossing of the Rubicon had been its last breath. The Roman Republic built an empire of citizens, but was destroyed by them. She created heroes like Cincinnatus, who were living proof that duty was greater than ego. But she also created heroes like Caesar, who showed that the same system that creates heroes also creates tyrants. What remains of all this? What lesson can we learn from Rome? Perhaps the greatest of them is this: freedom is a fragile balance. It demands virtue, sacrifice, and above all, constant vigilance against greed and personal power. When a hero places himself above the law, the Republic dies. When the people exchange their voice for a spectacle, freedom withers. Cincinnatus showed us the way. Caesar showed us the consequence of deviating from it. The Republic fell, but its history lives on in us, in our laws, in our languages, in our idea of duty and of the state. The Republic and its heroes remind us that power must serve the people and not the other way around. This is the legacy of Cincinnatus, the bitter victory of Scipio, the tears of Aemilianus, and the eternal warning of Caesar.